President Tinubu insists recent directive on withdrawal of policemen from VIPs must be implemented.
If you have any problem of security because of the nature of your assignment, please contact the IGP and get my clearance.
House of Representatives summons CBN governor over 11 trillion naira unremitted revenue from remitter system.
Federal government gives thumbs up to security agencies for rescue of abducted students as Minister of Information leads delegation to Niger State.
Good morning, Nigeria. Our focus is on 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
They say the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. But when you look closely at what many women and girls face today, that saying feels like it's under real, relentless pressure.
And you're absolutely right, Ademola. The numbers tell their own story. According to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, nearly 1 in 3 women will experience violence in their lifetime. And adolescent girls, sadly, are the most at risk.
Unfortunately, it's a deeply troubling reality.
Opportunities, skills development, access to markets, and even higher value jobs.
Women and girls make up half of the world's population and half of its potential. Yet, gender-based and sexual violence continue to leave deep scars in the wake of exploitation. On that note, we welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Ademola Adeoye. And our focus is the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
Of course, that ended yesterday. I'm Victor Azo. Thank you for starting your Thursday with us. We're live from Abuja, the nation's capital. In just a moment, we'll bring you Chinenye Nwoye, who has the morning news. And later on, the show would have Chukwudi Okoli Obaja for the newspaper review. For now, it's Chinenye. Good morning and good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Victor. Good morning, Ademola and Victor. Good morning, Nigerians. Here is the news. President Bola Tinubu insists his recent directive on the withdrawal of policemen providing personal security to people designated as very important personalities, VIPs, must be fully implemented. The president addressed this issue at the Federal Executive Council meeting this Wednesday.
If you have any problem of security because of the nature of your assignment, please contact the IGP and get my clearance.
Senate has mandated its Committee on Police Affairs to investigate allegations that the presidential order directing withdrawal of police personnel from VIPs is being flouted.
Mr. President gave that order in order to strengthen our police force to deal with our internal security problems, and it was done in good faith.
President Bola Tinubu has transmitted the federal government's 2026-2028 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper to the House of Representatives for consideration and approval. The House at Wednesday's plenary summoned the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, to appear before its Committee on Public Accounts over alleged remitter charges that are yet to be remitted to government coffers.
Neglected to honor the invitations or effect the required remittances as directed by the committee.
Mr. President should pay attention to this revelation
from a committee that is a creation of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has described the rescue of some abducted students of the St. Mary's Catholic Primary and Secondary School, Papiri, Niger State, as a moment of profound relief for the nation and families of the children. The minister stated this on Wednesday when he led a federal government delegation to the Government House, Minna, to show gratitude and share in the relief and joy that followed the release and safe return of the school children.
Ensuring that it is better positioned for them to fight this insurgency, this criminality, this banditry once and for all.
A former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, has remained in the custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, after failing to meet his bail conditions. Malami, who is being investigated for 18 alleged offenses, including alleged money laundering, abuse of office, and terrorism financing, has been held by the Anti-Graft Agency under a remand order earlier secured by investigators. NTA News investigation revealed that Malami SAN failed to meet his bail conditions as at Wednesday evening, forcing him to spend the third consecutive night in EFCC custody. The former chief law officer of the Federation, Abubakar Malami SAN, has been in the custody of the Anti-Graft Commission since Monday. And those are the news highlights for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Victor and Ademola after these messages. Do stay.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira will be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks, and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks, and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira would be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. State category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
the only tomato paste manufacturer to win the National Productivity Order of Merit Award by the federal government of Nigeria, endorsed by the Association of Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria. This is an evidence of 100% natural goodness. Eat healthy to live longer. Buy now and enjoy up to 20% discount.
Tomato paste, the taste of Nigeria.
Power Oil Light. Light enough for movement. Real enough for taste. Power Oil. My choice for my family. They always come back for seconds. I know why. Power Oil. My choice for my family.
Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. The city is moving. New voices, heavy drip, all heart. From the streets to the stage, this is the next Afrobeat star.
Yo, yo, yo! What are we here for? Let's Afrobeat star! Let's get classy!
And the talents from all over showed up to own the room. But they're not alone.
Spiritual. Gospel.
All chasing a slot to face the judges. Puffy T, SARS, Andre Vibes, P Pride. Catch next Afrobeat star on
It's time for newspaper review.
Yeah, our newspaper reviewer, Chukudi Okoli Obaja, is here. Chooks, good morning.
I am here, my dear Demola. How are you doing?
Sound.
So glad we made it into another day.
Thank God for that.
Some people slept and didn't wake up, and it is not necessarily true. They committed more sins than us. We should be glad and grateful.
Grace of God.
Victor, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I was almost certain that you were going to be here.
Yeah.
So I shot the viewer ahead.
There's
that
no
Chukudi
killing the
Okoli Obaja
Bito. If you know my story, therefore don't kill me, Tete. Akbu cannot they die. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Thank
well,
you.
Let's begin with the leadership here. And two major stories just above the nameplate. Reactions as Tinubu orders Rebadu to arm forest guards. That one is on page 4. And on page 27, federal government can't fix airfares. Sector fully deregulated. That's according to Keyamo. And below the nameplate, Federal Inland Revenue Service, French tax agency partner on digital transformation, others. And what looks like the major story rates: petrol imports rose to 52.1 million liters per day in November, says regulator. That's on page 4. And just above it, on page 22, Tinubu raises panel to pay 1.5 trillion naira debt owed 2,000 contractors. And the other stories on the front page of the leadership. Military Tantita in fresh offensive against oil thieves is on page 7. Omishore absent as Tinubu meets Osun governorship aspirants. Page 26. Zaria killings, Buhari and I will meet on Judgment Day, says El Zagzaki. Page 4. And Taraba Chief George laments withdrawal of police orderlies. All right. The other story yet to be taken here is a rowdy session as reps summon central bank governor over alleged 15 trillion naira debt. It's on page 21. And that takes me to the business NG. Civil defense can protect VIPs. Tinubu insists on ending police escorts. And the tiny strip just above that story on the business NG. Petrol price falls to 910 to 915 as NNPCL, major marketers announce fresh reductions. You get details of that on page 2. And just below the picture story, CAC POS registration directive sparks industry rift ahead of 2026 deadline. And above the nameplate, ex-aviation minister Stella Odua Associates arraigned over 2.4 billion naira fraud. And that is as FG kicks off 4 trillion naira power debt repayment with 590 billion naira bond issuance, which is on page 2. Let me leave it here for Demola, please.
Okay, let me start with, I have the Blueprint newspaper. The Blueprint newspaper says at the top of the nameplate, Tinubu working with states, international organization to tackle insecurity. Idris, that's the details on page 6. Then we have bandit kingpin Kachala killed. Undume hails Tinubu's action. Naira drops as foreign payment eclipse total forex supply. AFCON, NFF meets to ratify Chela's 28-man squad. The major headline reads, police withdraw from VIPs, Senate seeks exemption. Tinubu insists no going back. President asks minister to seek his approval for escort. Tinubu will save us from the order, DSP Jibri assures senators. Then we have the insecurity, religious leaders not honest with Nigerians. Sultan, details of that story is on page 8. Presidency set up panel to clear 1.5 trillion owed 2,000 contractors. FEC approves 58 billion naira electric buses and 187 billion BOI building. And let's go to the Daily Times now. Daily Times, we have the major headline reads, Tinubu doubles down on withdrawal of police from VIPs, and ECOWAS vows united actions on terrorism, stronger democracy. Chooks.
ECOWAS vows a stronger action, against terrorism and
democracy.
To shore up democracy as well. The last bit interests me more than anything else. We must respect the rights of the citizens to choose who rules them. If they like, they can vote in a thief, a robber, whatever, but let it be seen that it is the people's choice. The first thing you do to mortgage a man, his existence, is denying him free choice, free expression, free association. These are things not just enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, they are actually declarations at the human rights level, which takes us to UN.
Human rights.
The things that a man needs to feel like a man, So I like what they're reiterating there. Federal government can't fix airfares. That's coming from Keyamo. We agree that the minister and every other person who is working to ensure free enterprise in the airlines industry, they probably mean well. But in Nigeria, would they know where to draw the line in terms of decent, pricing and all that? That is the point. Some people need to be, and anyway...
That is when there is no regulation.
When there's no regulation.
Yeah.
Fine. And you do not have a situation all the time when there's no... For instance, many of us are sentenced to flying. When I said many of us, I'm speaking generally. I didn't say Chukudi has money to fly. Oh, they are sentenced to flying because they feel that the bandits on the road or the terrorists, insurgents, whatever we call them, has forced them to one alternative. It's called a Hobson's choice. No choice at all, because there is indeed only one thing to choose from. Hobson's choice. That's what it's called in English. Good. Now, leaving that, we want to wish Keyamo well, because he's one of the ministers I admire, Once upon a time, I knew him, So let us see how it plays out. But it does matter that sometimes you need to step in to say, hey, gentlemen, there's no place in the world where price is not controlled.
Yeah. Nope.
The Americans, you can't flood their place with agricultural products. You can't. I asked Google, does the U.S. Restrict any imports into their country and all that? And they said the U.S. heavily restricts many imports, though through quotas, permits, inspections, specific labeling, and outright bans on certain products for health, safety, and economic reasons. This is on a broader scale. But I'm saying that the little of it also peters down to the question of what services the people need to, on a daily basis, patronize. You may not need to hands off completely. You know, free enterprise is good. But when it begins to choke, because there are not too many alternatives for people, you might need to step in there.
All right, let's look at this issue of bandits. Bandit kingpin Kachala killed, you know, and the Sultan is saying that religious leaders are not honest when it comes to insecurity with the report that they give out.
First of all, we have to, I am not one of those that clap when my fellow man is killed. That's not what we're taught in Sunday school. But when you are president, when you are IGP, when you are a platoon commander, you know that some people need to be stopped in their tracks. So I want to think that that is how it has happened in this case. It's a pity Kachala had to be gunned down or however he was killed, you know. So having said that, we must, as a people, know that the best way we can get out of all these problems is by coming together to discover the human being in each of us. The problem Africa particularly has is that they concentrate on ethnicity. Sometimes they say religion. I don't believe in religion.
Of course, religion.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's there really.
It's there.
How many Muslims have Christians converted in the past 10 years? How many Christians have Muslims converted? Go and do the survey before you begin. People use these things as a ruse. What they're looking for is a different thing entirely. That's the truth on the ground. You know, they'll tell you the Muslim population, the Christian population in Nigeria, they are still balanced and all that. Nobody has overwhelmed the other person in real terms.
What about the traditionalists?
The traditionalists. Are you an atheist? You know, sometimes I suspect you really.
No, because you are still in the realm of security.
Yes, my dear.
Now, there are reactions as Tinubu orders Rebadu to arm forest guards. Of course, the forest is where the bandits and the kidnappers inhabit.
Well, you are extending, you're doing your own rider. I don't think it's there. But by implication, that is what the president is aiming to curtail.
Of course, that's why the forest guards is being...
the forest guard, in my time, when I wore, we call it upon khaki. I didn't know it was khaki on khaki. We call it upon khaki. The forest guard then carried a hammer, you know, and all that. They strapped it here. But the forest guards of those days only had monkeys and antelopes to contend with in the bush. The forest guard of today might actually be stepping into an untimely death.
Yeah.
So I don't see why anybody would react negatively to what the president is asking us to do. That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
And Zaria killings. Buhari and I will meet on Judgment Day, says
That's a personal opinion. That's a personal opinion.
Of course, they attributed it to him, so we know that already.
Oh, yeah, it's a personal opinion. When you're president of a country, you need to make some decisions. But if 300 people were secretly buried, fair is fair. Those were human beings. If you see, the rules of engagement in the army is that you do not shoot people who are unarmed. When that, was it 2021? When did that happen?
That's
okay, forget the year. When it happened and the clash with the army, some of us said, did we engage the rules of, did we involve the rules of engagement in handling situations like that? If we did, then somebody was protecting the state from something. If we didn't, we were not fair to our fellow man. That's all I can say. But they will meet at the gate of heaven or hell and all that. That's a personal opinion. Anybody can say anything after having a fat lunch.
That's an appeal to the Supreme Being.
Yeah. When it's you and God. No human being, no day inside now. You know?
Because the man is gone already anyway, so.
The man is gone already. And we have this saying that you should not malign the dead. And I particularly respect
guess that's why
people in the north. People in the north, I see a tendency by them not to malign people who have died. So let him not break that streak, which we enjoy.
It's not maligning, he's just saying that anyway, when we get to...
yes. Then go judge them to God.
Aljana.
I am beginning to respect the president more and more for the bloody civilian he is. Please, it's in quotes. He's making decisions that civilians are not prone to. You understand? These are very hard decisions. I didn't think that, you see, the person I applauded more than everyone else was Obasanjo when he said, I retire anybody in the army who has tasted political power, the governors and all that. He was even going to get to the ADC level before they told him, no, that's too much. So I'm looking at Tinubu's action in that sphere, on that sphere. I think he made a decision that would not make him popular to his fellow politicians, but still he had to make that decision. What you and I as journalists should do now is to monitor, trail the event to know whether it is actually prosecuted to the letter. That is where Victor's reportage comes in. Don't saunter to the bar after this. Go out there and find out whether the president's
actually,
I actually saw, well, of course, without mentioning names, I saw it was a tale of two convoys I cited yesterday.
Yes.
One with just two vehicles. These are highly placed people, by the way. Just two vehicles, and another with a very long convoy
chain
with people lined up beside the vehicles and following. So don't ask me if
you don't ask me.
They are being.
I used to read
if
that
the president's directive is being
in the
followed to the letter
Trust
or not.
magazine and all that. I wanted to ask you.
Reputational threats to our national brand, in which external purveyors of untruths are mischaracterizing our nation as a destination for a so-called persecution of people based on their religious faith. This is a propaganda externally woven by those who want to break or weaken our unity. For the upteenth time, I'm emphatic that there's no iota of truth in the communication that is out there, that there is a deliberate, calculated effort where one particular religion is targeted for extermination. I therefore urge us to use the instruments of public relations crafted in truths and facts to vehemently reject.
Fresh now, but you know, I beg no be so. Ever had a Colgate, the #1 oral care brand in the world? For zero cavities and long-lasting fresh breath. Mom, it's your time to brush. Mama and Papa buy up, use up, and shine your smile. No more cover mouth.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the worrisome increase in the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The FSRCC and NBC hereby advises the general public to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Make sure to verify the licensing status of such companies and schemes on this website. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call CBN 0817-665-7060, SAC 0209-462-1168, 0916-772-3240. Let's work together to uphold the integrity of Nigeria's financial system. Announcer, FSRCC.
Let's believe in ourselves. Let's have the right attitude. We've got all it takes to get there. Let's look inwards and revive all our infrastructures and galvanize our human and material resources.
Nigerians, believe in yourselves. Believe we can succeed.
Nigeria, believe. Powered by National Orientation Agency.
Right, if you've just joined us, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And just before we introduce our guests for our conversation on the 16 days of activism, let's take this background report put together by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Unite to end digital violence against all women and girls was the theme for this year's 16 days of activism. It focused on tackling online abuse and harassment, urging governments, tech companies, and individuals to create safer digital spaces and end impunity for digital violence. The 16 Days of Activism is an annual event that lapses between November 25 to December 10. The key aspects of this year's activism focused on rise against image-based abuse, cyberstalking, and other digital forms of abuse. Critical to the issues are demands of legislative action, tech companies, accountability, and increased investment in feminist organizations. There was as well the call for everyone, including policymakers, individuals, to speak out, support survivors, and challenge harmful online norms. According to the International Federation of the Red Cross, digital threats are accelerating at a pace communities can barely keep up with, and far too many incidents never surface, from coordinated online harassment and persistent tracking to the misuse of personal information, manipulated imagery, and targeted misinformation. These violations undermine confidence, erode dignity, and push women out of the digital space. In their most extreme form, online attacks spill over into physical harms with consequences that can be fatal. It should be noted that women and girls comprise of about half of the world's population, as well as its strength. Despite this, gender-based violence still tends to be ravaging. Experts say every year, millions of women and girls face digital abuse and technology-facilitated violence. Online harassment alone drives many women away from digital spaces, limiting their opportunities, skills development, access to market, and even higher value jobs. Now, what has these 16 days of activism achieved this year? Can we say there's indeed enough awareness on cyberbullying against the female folks? Our guest in the studio will be answering these questions and others shortly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Oyeyemi Ajayi, for that background report on the 16 days of activism. We already have in our studio for the conversation our guest. First, in no particular order, is Lady Ejiro Umokoro. She is author and CEO Light Ray Media. Umokoro, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
All right. Also joining us here is Hawa Abbas Hadejia. She is Silver Lining Initiative. Hawa, it's good to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
All right, perhaps we just start with Hawa Hadejia. Now, another year of 16 days of activism has come to an end. But why does it seem that the gender-based violence increases in terms of statistics, the numbers, in spite of advocacy through the years?
Well, there are probably many factors to that. First of all, I would want to say that culture, tradition in the African region is really affecting us as well. I believe that our religious leaders and our traditional leaders need to begin to be our spokespersons, so to speak, for the matter. Because a lot of things that happen in the home, although this year the focus is on digital violence, but a lot of things that happen in the home is related to how things are supposed to be based on particular cultures. So these are certain factors. Also mental health issues. Self-esteem is a big thing. If a woman is dealing with low self-esteem, she's more likely to be able to experience or get engaged in gender-based violence. Yeah.
What do you think would be responsible for that low self-esteem?
Multiple things, again, can be responsible. We can take it back to culture. We can take it back to religious issues. And we can just take it back to low educational background. So I'm not saying that those that are more educated are not experiencing gender-based violence, because they are. But these are all factors that are connected to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and let's bring in Ejiro into the conversation now. We're looking at let's examine the theme for this year's 16 days activism.
Somebody just took her face, merged it with another naked body, and then presented it as if that was her that was in that state. So a situation where people are able to use deepfakes, for example. So deepfake is where you strategically use digital tools, then place whatever you've created, whether it's pictures, whether it's videos, and then you superimpose it with somebody who is not the person doing whatever it is that is happening at that point in time. And the goal, once it's done, is to see that they want to really, really break not just your confidence, they want to destroy your reputation. Somebody's having an engagement in that platform and probably even making money. So often the goal is to misinform and then direct a certain kind of traffic against that person with the simple goal that they want to crush the person and make the person irrelevant on platforms. And this is a dangerous way of accessibility that we should be concerned about. It's never been like this before. It has always been there. But the difference is that we're now having platforms that seems like they're enablers and drivers that help people who feel this is my time to get back at somebody, right? Or I want to attack somebody. And because of how it's very viral in nature, people engage in it, and something needs to be done with regard to stopping that tendencies.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let me now introduce, am I getting that name? Let me introduce Dr. Olajumoke Adeniyi. I'm sorry you're having to rethink your name because she was with us last week.
Yes. You rarely see someone who's been in government, whose wife later became a senator repeatedly. That is for you to show that this person supports women. And we see more inclusivity of women. Though there are still gaps, and we still have a lot of gaps to fill up for women in leadership in Nigeria. But we can say there is a bit of progress. Yesterday, 2 days ago, we had an advocacy for Hassan Foundation. We spoke to the traditional birth attendants. These are the people that are involved in gender mutilation of genital parts of women, which is a serious issue in Nigeria. Gender-based violence, female genital mutilation. These ones don't even know what we're talking about, digital anything, because they are the ones at the grassroots and they don't have access to Facebook, TikTok, but what they are practicing is comprising of the figures of what we go through in Nigeria. We empowered about 100 of them. Each of these women take at least 10 births. In Nigeria hospital, most people, more than 80% of the people were delivered, and we still have learned people going to them. So we taking this step, training 100 of them. Look at the figures. One woman taking 10 births, training 100 of them in that month. That means we're saving 1,000 girls at least in 2026 from facing female genital mutilation. So we can say of a truth that we are making progress, because these women left more enabled, more empowered. And we also went to the grassroots. As like yesterday, we were still there chanting. One of the women at one of the 17 chiefdoms in Abuja said something about their alchemies. He said their alchemies, I can't remember his name. He said if he catches you carrying out this nonsense, and I like the word she used, nonsense, you are going to be excluded from that society. And I can testify to that because we had this outreach to them last year. We spoke, I was not even believing it. We may not see the progress. Digital violence, because we are now in a very accessible society. People that cannot speak to you one-on-one will stay behind their keypad as keypad warriors chanting words with you. And we have said Nigeria has to come to the point that we need to synchronize with this social media platform. We need to ensure that the law gets to the point that if you send someone, you stalk somebody unnecessarily, you speak down someone, the law must catch up with you. And when somebody becomes a scapegoat, every other social media warrior will go to hide and they begin to check whatever it is that they are taking. So these are the steps, and this is what this year's activism is about. And we know that by this time next year, we're going to see progress.
You're going to see progress, really.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. But there are a lot of people have, rare. Maybe some people have said that the issue of abuse against, women and girls is sometimes
showing. Her legs were showing. So as long as, is it that she's wearing a bra and pants and just walking around the road with just her underwear? Or is it that she just exposed her hand or exposed her neckline? And so because she exposed her neckline, because everybody has different fetish. So based on fetish, even exposing your toes to a man, some men, if your toes are fetish, if their fetish is toes, so does that mean that because today my toes are exposed, I'm underdressed. And so that man can come and abuse me because I exposed my toes unknowingly that was his fetish. So it's something that we can measure, yeah.
I agree with you, Hawa, and I'm glad you nailed it that way. Let us understand that gender-based violence, when you see perpetrators go after babies.
Exactly. The old women.
Go after old women who are sometimes in their homes. Covered that there are 6 types of men who engage in these activities. And all of these men who engage in this activity of where they perpetuate and try to justify. Remember, it's a justification against somebody who has psychological trauma, one. We're not justifying it. And then somebody who has a caveman mentality. Then there are those who deliberately, their goal is that they have misogynistic tendencies or are misogynistic by nature. So they hate women, and what they want to do against women is just to violate women in the most violent forms. So let us understand that the categorization of these different men engaged in this act against women exists. So we should go against those men, and that's why we have the sex offenders register, where you register these people who are involved in these activities. So let us put it out there that men who do this, one, they have psychological problems, so they are not normal, which means we are not normalizing them attacking any woman for any reason. Self-control is what a man should have. The discipline to honor another woman. A mother gave birth to you. You have sisters, you have nieces. You have children around you who you're supposed to be a protector for. So a man that does not protect a woman or protect a human being has a fundamental problem and deserves psychiatric evaluation. That's on the one hand. Then let us look at the fact that in our society today, when you have a conversation that gives a man a pass to commit evil simply because he's a man, and that's why we've seen cases where chiefs, because we've done some investigation, there were 2 cases where we took some 2 chiefs to prison as we speak. They're in prison now. And the only reason why we succeeded in bringing down these chiefs was because the community now understood that how do you dishonor a woman or dishonor...
Types of activism all year, every year, 16 days, and all the others. Why does this persist with the media? You are a media person.
Can I tell you why? People know what they are doing. I have an incident where we handled in our organization at Light Tree Media. We discovered some boys. We went to different institutions in Nigeria, secondary school, universities. And these universities we went to, institutions we went to, we had 15-year-olds who were allowed to go and attend these schools by their parents. Did you know what some of the lecturers were doing or the NYSC guys were doing to students in this secondary school? They used the phrase, we dey chop them.
Wow.
I chop them. I don't chop them now. I don't chop them. So men take pride in chopping girls.
Oh, is that what they mean by chopping?
Oh, yeah. Later on. And then we are now seeing more NYSC guys. These guys are actually satisfied in chopping girls and they actually tell each other. So you have a community of young men, yes, between the ages of 16 and 35, who are chopping our daughters in secondary and primary schools. And they justify it. And then if they are in monotechnics, they are also chopping these girls. So let us understand that people know what they are doing. You don't need media to tell you that chopping a little girl that does not have the maturity, the sense of discipline, or the know-how to know that this is not the way I'm supposed to
That would be
navigate.
below 18, by the way.
Yes, exactly.
Because when it goes above 18, you are talking about consent.
Yes.
Even if the person is 18 and that person does not consent, and you chop the person, you've committed a crime. So let us make it laid bare clearly. About time we take accountability. If we're saying men should take accountability, then you as a mother cannot be raising a child in a home where you can physically assault a child. Let me give you an instance. A woman, she is 33, her son is 11 years old. Did you know what she did to the boy? The boy held a top-end phone. The phone fell and cracked. This woman went bonkers. Do you know what she did? She went to the fire where the water was, and she lifted that water and poured it on her 11-year-old child. This is her baby. So what we're saying is this. In homes, these are being perpetuated. You do that to a child, that's trauma right there. That child will grow up to also traumatize others. People who are wounded also wound other people. So it's a cycle that is being enabled by people who engage in these acts, and we must not be excusing it, tolerating it, justifying it, or even saying, now circumstances push them. If there is a
child, this girl left her family house to go and stay with a uncle or a relative, and she was there for years. They were having carnal knowledge of her without her consent, that it led to a medical situation. The girl called out for help from the mother. It led to, she became so sick. I mean, she had this fistula between the bladder and the vagina, so she couldn't control urinary incontinence. Several things happened because she went to a family and she lost her life in the process, and justice was delayed. So we have, number one, the society, every family member should take a stand. If a child or somebody comes to report to you that this person is violating me, do not give that person an excuse. There were other people that this person could have chosen. But the fact that you were the one they picked out means there is something about you. In every, even if it is a rumor, there will be an iota of why. We have a VAP law that is active. We should not delay it. There are other situations of people in leadership, fathers violating the children. It should not be so. You should not allow such a person to still remain in service, whatever it is that they are doing. And I like what I've seen in some organizations. Some organizations will eventually, they will suspend that person immediately, go and face the wrath of the law. So whenever we see that justice is served, it serves as a caution to other perpetrators to know that you will be found out. To know that, oh, let me caution myself. Now, this country is not the same again. If one member of the family shouts and accuses you, you won't be able to go after another child in that family.
But the problem most times is the issue of stigmatization. A lot of people don't report these cases.
And that is why we need to let the victim know that you don't have to, there is power in your voice. Your silence.
We live in a society, and it's, like she's saying, it's really good for us to encourage victims to speak out. However, there are some families that, even as a victim, you will not be able to speak out because of the family you're from. Poverty is a huge factor when we talk about gender-based violence in the rural setting. Now, most times, a young girl, we've come across so many young girls who have been abused, and when you're trying to even when you get close to justice, something will happen because the parents will collect money behind closed door to keep quiet. So yes, it's good for us to encourage victims to speak out. However, some victims, their hands are tied. They can't speak out because their mother or father have told them that they will be the one that will kill them if they speak out. Sometimes because they have been given money. It's not even a case of shame now. It is a case of, the money's in them as well. But the truth about it is that this is more in the upper class society. In the rural society, they are not teaching their children what inappropriate touch is. They're not even able, they haven't gotten that point. Most times you're just looking for what to eat the next day. So the system as well, like as Lady E said, we have policies in Nigeria for every single thing, for every single problem, for every single challenges we're facing. We have the policies. In fact, I don't even believe we need to write any more policies in Nigeria. We need to start focusing on implementations of policies because all these policies exist. Now, in another society, for example, a woman who is in a low-income background or a single mother will have support from the government. Social service support to be able to support her children, to be able to feed her children. Now, we don't have that.
Is there a role for NGOs, CSOs in all of this?
I mean, NGOs are doing it. We are doing this. We are going to communities, putting together programs that will empower the parents to be able to raise, build their small businesses, to be able to strengthen their household economic finances. However, it is not the job of just an NGO. NGO is a support system to what the government is already doing. That is what NGOs do all over the world. They support and complement the activities of the existing government. So the government, we need to really say that the government, the NGOs are trying. A lot of NGOs are doing work. They are giving food. Now we're in the festive season. You start seeing distribution of food. But how long can that food last? How long can that food last? We need to ensure that we have built programs that strengthen the household.
She talked about the significance of removing poverty. Poverty is a very powerful root driver. In other words, if people, because now they've commercialized the settlement processes, I've seen it enough time, it's just heartbreaking. I mean, we handled a case as far as the courts. We began the conversation, and before you know it, this other big person, or small person as the case may be, who understand the power of settlement, went ahead to settle. So it means that even our judicial system needs to reinvent its interpretation and how it handles cases of settlement. This is a crime. It is not a civil case. So we need to make that be out there. Go back to be in the same environment that perpetuates violence against them. And then we saw cases of pregnant women who wanted to escape their husbands, who were violent against them. I'm like, how do we save? Now, NAPTIP came through because I applied the Freedom of Information Act. And I need to commend them for that. And I will want all agencies in Nigeria to do that, because there's a law, a Supreme Court law, barely 2 months ago, that states categorically that every tier of government in Nigeria must respond to the Freedom of Information Act request, either from citizens, the media, or anybody. So this is my way of now telling government parastatals, MDAs, agencies, to say that you too, as a civil servant, if you are not giving enough data to work with, we cannot also solve some of this problem. That's another government role. So they need to respect that law. It's clear. 90% of the FOI requests are simple.
People are, sucked in to their own hustle and bustle. They leave in the morning, they come back in the night, they leave the children with house helps. They may never be able to notice these things.
So this is the thing. Them force you to born picking. I mean, like, who asked you to born picking? No,
you've had the children. You've had the children, and then life happens, and then you need to cater for the children.
What does that mean, life happens? So the children are life happens? You need to cater
for the children. I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying, but we need to also backtrack, because this is where we make excuses. We say life happens, and then life happens to your child, and you think you cannot be held accountable? Come on, let's be accountable for once, because that's part of the problem we have in Nigeria. We do not like to be accountable people. If we see where we'll go escape one time. So let's get to the point that you chose to have a child. She's very fair, has this beautiful curly hair. I don't forget her, even though I was 9 years old. That was how powerful that imagery was. My father made all of us read that article. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. The last of us then was just 5 years old. Did you know? 3. She was 3 years old. They asked her, little as she was, what do you think about this story? My little sister then said, it's not good to allow a man touch you. As little as she was. So the orientation begins from, you got to be an intentional parent. And then with the adult, how are we understanding this? I just knew. It was from 9, I knew the power of consent. 9, I knew that nobody can touch me, because my father taught me how to do taekwondo and things like that. We went to learn it too. So let us be intentional parents.
How many young girls can do taekwondo and all that stuff?
No, that's because your parents were intentional. I did boxing. I learned all of those things, even on my own. I had to learn how to fight for myself as well. So at the end of the day, you will learn skills for survival. Yes, self-defense. You will learn skills for survival, and it's key.
Okay, go ahead.
So I want to say that, as Lady E said, The fact that, you know, you mentioned that parents leave their children with nanny.
Of course, but
The truth is that many don't even live with nanny. They live with nobody. And that's why we keep saying that there are policies and it needs to start being implemented. Why should a parent leave a child at home? There are so many stories they will tell you, especially in the rural. You're talking about nanny for the higher class society. The rural
broken down right now because the father has to go to work, the mother has to go to work. Unlike in the past where, you know, the men go to work and the women, they stay at home at least to raise the children. So let's look at the major high points now, Dr. Adeni, of this year's, you know, theme. What are the major high points? What did you look at and what did you achieve?
Okay, thank you. So this year we talked about the digital violence because we noticed this is a gap. In fact, Nigeria doesn't have, we don't have a law that is firm on digital violence. People just commit all unnecessary issues, laws like, break laws like deep fakes. You just, one day you wake up and see yourself doing something on the internet and the internet told you that you did this. Another case is porn, revenge porn. Another case is the knowledge of the Nigerian government. And they cannot say that we have not said it. It is all over the place. On social media, the hashtag is there. Say no to cyberbullying, domestic, digital violence. It's clear. But we did not stop there because these local women that are part of the statistics, majority of the Nigerian population are living in poverty. We also had to reach out to them. Because we can't keep it at that level alone. Because Nigeria is not just the country where you say digital violence and you keep quiet on every other form of violence. Because it is very active. We have a large population of over 250 million. Lots of, more than 50% are living in poverty. So we have to make sure that this law also gets to them. We carry everyone along. And this is what we've been able to achieve this year. We made the government know that you have to make a law that, and we're expecting that law to be in action. You also have to make sure that justice is not delayed. It is served quickly. And we also have to let the family members.
I need an additional specific laws to really specify, because people like say Nigerians, even when you make something general, we need to understand. We have to break it down to the least, to the minute.
Different interpretation.
So we behave as if we
Once
don't know what is
gender-based, many women say, oh, it's against our agenda.
Which is where I have been saying earlier on. Because the conversation we are seeing now, we are become a highly narcissistic society where people believe that because I am on social media, I am supposedly anonymous, it means I can do harm and nobody can catch me. But the cybercrime law says that, look, they go find you. And that's why it should not be tolerated from whether a man or a woman. There is no excuse. There is no justification. A crime is a crime. Violence is violence. Abuse is abuse. Are there consequences? They are there. Plenty of it. The question is, do we want to implement them? Or do we just want to keep talking?
As it is with many laws.
So how do we increase digital literacy amongst women and girls especially, you know, for us to be able to, for them to have a better understanding of all what we're talking about?
That's a very powerful conversational question in this context. One, as a woman, you already know you're on a digital street. Social media is a street. Just like in your community, you have streets. The question you should ask yourself is, on your normal street, what do you normally would do? If you know that on your normal street, there are certain things they won't catch you doing. Remember that the social media platforms are also streets where people are community connected. So that is one. That psychology needs to shift. Our mindset needs to understand that we are now on a virtual reality street. And anything identified. And I said, sometimes accountability starts with us. And I told her, I went behind a DM on Facebook. I said, Madam, you see this picture of your Peking? I better try to move her. She was like, why? So I now explained it to her. So part of it is about, it takes a village to also fight this thing. I don't need to know her for me to send her a DM and say, this is for your child's protection. It's just human community relationships and protecting our environment to be more sane. I said, there's nothing wrong here. But you see, perpetrators, we don't want to perpetrators we behave as perpetrators, because I don't also want to use the word excuse. Perpetrators will behave as perpetrators. And if you know they are out there, you also take certain steps. That's one. Then also to fathers. Fathers.
Yes.
You need to be more connected with your daughters. I will always emphasize the...
Then we will read out some of the comments and questions that we have received from our viewers. So stay with us, take a break now. The conversation continues. Stay with us.
You have no better friend and partner than Nigeria. Let this unveiling today be a call to conscience. Let our practitioners hold the line of truth. To the media, please inform with integrity and with a deep sense of patriotism. To our public officers, communicate with transparency. To citizens, please let us speak with empathy. Let us come together to become the voice of responsibility, the voice of the world that heals division, that inspires hope and drives development.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Our discussion is still on the 16-day activism. Well, yes, Ejiro, before we went on break, you were, telling us about, how do we promote literacy, amongst women and girls, child, concerning this digital space.
Okay, so I was just going to emphasize the fact that many mothers, we've seen cases where many mothers actually think that their marriage is more important than the protection of their children. Women need to flip that. We had an incident in Southeast Nigeria that we investigated. And this man, when his wife died, he started having carnal knowledge of his two daughters. The first one began when she was 12. I think it's in Netherlands, if I remember very accurately, or was it in Sweden? They no longer allow phones for children. Even in the United States, there's also that conversation going on, that how many should children bring phones to school? And some schools
Australia just stopped children 16 and below.
So everybody is after their own strategy. So they are now conscious governments, intentional government policy. You don't give children, like I said, social media is a street. So do you throw your children out in the street? Don't you put barriers, measures, right? You say, okay, this house, you cannot go past this house. You see these gates, they're not born, you make it past this house by 7 p.m. We've given them those restrictions. So the question is, when you buy a phone for a child, even if the child does not take it to school because the school has banned that child, but you in your mind...
Let me just pause you there because I was still going to ask you about AI, but let's read out some of the comments and questions from our viewers because of time. And this one is, in as much as I won't support rape or violence against the girl child under any circumstances, you shouldn't forget the need to do the right do the right at the time to avoid certain bad things happening. There is need to check indecent dressing among both sex, especially girls. If there is rubbish all over your body and you expect flies not to follow you, it's impossible. Lifestyle that can cause gender violence shouldn't be undermined to avoid occurrences, while offenders under any guise must be punished. Now, this one is in taming our society. I also appeal to some religious leaders who don't care to think and behave aright, and at the crossroads, I ask for the Asian part. Okay, Dr. Adeni, would you like to respond to some of this?
So the first person said that. That person was even contradicting himself. You said, yes, in Nigeria and in homes, we encourage modesty. We do not give an excuse. What do you say about the 80-year-old woman that was raped, or the babies that were raped to death? you can't take the focus off the perpetrators and put it on the victim and think justice is going to be served. No, it doesn't operate that way. Justice, ignorance is not an excuse in the court of law. Whatever it is that that person is wearing, he has committed a crime. It's like...
Okay, you want to...
Because of time, let me take some messages,
okay, so
you can react.
Yeah.
Now, Jakaba from Makurdi writes, and what are some common myths and conceptions about gender-based violence, and how can we challenge them? We'll hold that while we read the others. Good morning, NTA and the guests. I am happy with today's topic, but I wish to let us know or remind us that human rights is doing what is right at every moment or time. In the process of exhibiting your rights, you are definitely abusing someone's rights too. So the only right anyone has is to do something right morally, religiously, and actively. This one is from Hamza Aminu Ado here in Abuja. And this long one from Ogenovo Godwin in Azari. Direct question.
Okay, so the first one was talking about human rights, I believe.
No, it was talking about, it said, what are some common myths and conceptions about gender-based violence, and how can we challenge them?
Okay, so I want to start by saying that when they say people hear gender-based violence, the first thing they think about is a woman who is dressed indecent. Now, what about the boys and the men who are being raped? How are they dressing and attracting people to come and rape them? Because now we're not even only getting females raping the boys or the men, where even the men are raping the boys and the men. So what is the attraction? So this whole idea of blaming the victims dressing, how is a boy or a man dressing that is attracting somebody who is more powerful than them to come and abuse them? So I really don't want to keep touching on this dressing issue, because if you're living in a higher income environment, you should know better as a parent. Yeah. We don't need to educate you. You should know better, because your educational background, your exposure should teach you and let you know the right things to do in able to safeguard your children. Now we're going back to those who probably did not have the opportunity to go to school. They did not finish school. Most parents mothers in rural communities, you will hear their stories. They gave birth 14, 15, 16, and why? Maybe they lost their parents and they were pushed to a man to marry just so that they can support the family. So they don't know better, because they themselves were children when they were actually put into marriage or started giving birth. So those are the people we need to focus on. And like Doctor said, they are the large population. They are more than 50% actually. They are about 80% of this country. If you ask banks, go to doctor's house, because doctor would pick them from school, and then they will stay in our house. Next day, they go to Lady E's house. So there are systems in place, but we need to educate them, because maybe they're not even thinking about this, that you can rotate childcare services around your environment, your neighbor. Like she said, it takes a village. So if you don't have the funds to be able to pay for childcare, there are always systems in place. But leaving children unattended to is a no-no. And government needs to start paying attention to that, because that's where we're getting a lot of issues. Even with this incident of kidnapping, it's mostly children that are unattended to in rural communities that disappear. You see a child from Sokoto ends up somewhere in the east. How did that happen? Who was watching that child? Where were the parents? So it's a combined effort of all stakeholders.
A combined effort of all stakeholders. Yeah. Thank you very much, Hawa. Now, let's look at the issue of Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act in Nigeria. How many states do you think have domesticated this act, and how effective is the implementation?
The last time I counted, I think they've up to 20. Yeah, so that's some progress. I'm thinking it's getting more. But most of the challenge we've had is northern Nigeria. The southern part of Nigeria, I think all of them virtually, because in 2018, 2020, when the COVID-19 happened, people like some of us in Delta State, for example, I championed the conversation about Child's Rights Act, VAP Act, and all that. So prior to that, but then there was this consciousness to say we need to use radio to normalize and mainstream marriage 2 months earlier. So when the man came, the first thing he did, my gate officer was like, what do you want, what do you want, what do you want? And there was this scoffing, like, I want to see Madam, I want to see GM. And then finally he came. And when he came, the first thing he said is, I want justice for my Peking. I want justice for my Peking. And I said, Papa, what happened? That's when we sat down. I got feeder, I got other groups, and then we swung in. That 55-year-old man did not escape. He's in jail. So what this way I'm going to, the man I'm describing, you can tell, say, poverty, they finished the man. But what he did was that he realized that his mindset, because this is where the power lies. Every other thing are just facts of life. Consequences. But the only way this can be effected if he took action. This 55-year-old man who raped his 13-year-old daughter, he's his neighbor. They live in the same building. And then he did that. So that idea, he allowed and understood when I said the stigma should be on the perpetrator, not the person who has been violated.
Not the victim.
Not the victim. So some of the myths we also have, misogyny, hate for women is very common. There's a word that is everywhere. I don't want to use that word because I think somehow people institutionalize that word. But this is a word where I can put it under misogyny. And one of the things we are seeing now is a generation that is raising young boys to actually hate women. And then we're seeing a generation of young women hating men. I've always said there's no gender war. But you know social media thrives on chaos, on madness, and respect each other. Another myth is the thinking that boys are superior to girls. That's where it comes from. A man told me, that girl, now me get him. The idea that because I paid by price on your head means that anything I want, you have to do it. Religious teaching tells them that who is the head of the home? There's nothing wrong with being the head of the home. But what does the head of the home mean? Does this mean abusing the privilege? Does it mean excessive behavior towards the other person? No, that's not what it means.
I wish we could go on and on. We've run out of time so that we can take the final word from Dr. Demola. Please, your final word as we close.
So my word is this for every Nigerian citizen, because the onus lies on each and every one of us to make sure that gender-based violence, whether digital